Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Get Your Deco. Episode number 30, in fact. Scott, we made it to the grown-up numbers.
Yeah, we are finally at an episode that is higher than my age. Despite me looking like a bad late 30s, I am still in my 20s.
From Minnesota, in fact, according to the comments of the last episode.
From Minnesota?
Yeah, some people were guessing where you were originally from, and it just said apparently because that's the grumpy end of America.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if that is the grumpy end of America, then that kind of makes sense. But no, I'm English, born and raised. I'm afraid I've been living in Wales for the last 10 years, which is why my accent is, shall we say, a little bit unusual, but
we love it all the same.
Nah.
Welcome everybody back. We are, yes, on episode 30. This is apparently the episode where we're supposed to be throwing a Patreon down your face, asking you to drop a Ko-Fi. And there's none of that, just pure magic talk. We've had a lot of tournaments this weekend, a lot of format developments. We just want to have a quick talk about them. It was interesting, Scott. We went from the most expensive, well, not the most expensive, the most played, rather than the most expensive format in Modern.
The most expensive competitively supported format, shall we say.
Yeah, officially competitively supported format, to, on the whole, the cheapest format. Like, I know there is sometimes some rather outlier incommons, but when we say outlier, we're talking £5.
Yeah.
where we're talking like £40 for Badgermall Cubs last week. But Pauper was with us with Eternal Weekend. I know there was Legacy and Vintage. We're probably not necessarily the best podcast to talk about that. We're going to link some of the great episodes that you'll find with people like Bosch and Roll and that in the description. But we want to talk about Pauper. We've got some local affiliations. We had a very local affiliation in Francis who gave us a bit of a rundown last week. I think we'll take a look at the top 8, Scott, but the first thing to note, he was completely wrong about the mono red decker choice.
He was. It was always... I watched the video and I was thinking to myself, I've not played a lot of Pauper in the last sort of 2 years. I've played a little bit. I've dabbled. The Madness decks always felt quite powerful to me, and when Red-Black Madness was just becoming a thing, it was a deck that I played a little bit, and it always felt really powerful, and it just needed more refinement. I think absolutely correct on monocolor generally being the way to go, or if you're 2-color, you need to be really assertive, and if you're 3-color, you need to be doing something kind of unfair. That's why we've seen like Familiars and Dimir Terror, Gruul Monsters, but then as soon as you get, I suppose it's not really a multicolor deck, but Core Gates is another one where it is just doing something really powerful, where it's getting so much value out of its lands.
Mm-hmm. It's like Grixis Affinity, right? Grixis Affinity is a good fun deck, but it kind of gets, it's very difficult to like do it in enough tempo to keep ahead with some of the other things that's done well.
Yeah, it's also only kind of Grixis, right? It's as far as
Shaman splashes.
As far as I understand it, you're in black for stuff like Fanatical Offering and Reckoner's Bargain and Refurbished Familiar, and then you're basically a mono black deck by and large, maybe a Rakdos deck if you want to argue that, and then you're splashing like Thoughtcast because of the power level, and then one Cryogen Relic or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll take a look at the top 8 standards just to run it down. We can see that what we had in the top 8 was a split of 2 mono red Madness decks, 2 Core Gates decks. It was a Familiars deck, 2 Terror decks, one in the sort of mono blue, the one in the Dimir Terror variety. Lots of discussion on the commentary desk, and like if you can go back and watch any of the VODs, you had Emma Pardlow, Ross Merriman, some fantastic people on commentary. Like it was not only like entertaining but in depth sort of like breakdowns, and also the one deck which had a terrible day 2 win conversion rate in Gruul Monsters actually ended up being the top seed. Like wonder what spice that got them through there, but they ended up top of the tables. Eventually though, us seeing the tables getting run by Mono Red Madness where possible, because I guess everything that was there was a great matchup for them, and eventually taking down the crown.
Yeah, Gruul Monsters being the 5th most popular deck on day 1, and then I think being 11th on day 2. That's a pretty big hit to your play percentage.
Yeah, the worst drop. So it was 5.15% of the day 1 field, but ended up only being 2.27 of the day 2 field. The biggest underperformer. Lots of decks performed about. Basically, if you perform about 1% in between the conversion rates, you're just kind of like on rate. Anything either side of it, you start to become like, oh wow, that deck's getting to the top tables. Mono Red Madness basically showing us that trend, going with a 4.21 percentage change. The Terra decks, the Mono Blue one, coming in at 3.44. There wasn't much Dimir Terra in total, but they had essentially they said essentially the same. But we saw quite a day 2 improvement for Familiars and Elves, which also did really, really well for this tournament. Not necessarily cracking anyone in Italy into the top 8, but actually having really good showings to the top level. But no Jund Wildfire, which I think is something also to sort of highlight, because we were very high on that in the preview episode of Francis.
Well, Francis said the Italians are very high on it as well. So
yeah, and only 72 people bringing it in a total field of over 1,000. And I think, despite Francis isn't Italian. I think there's still quite a lot of Italians there. Fair play to them. Diversity in the field and diversity in the play patterns.
Yeah, if you're looking at purely on conversion rate, because the percentage change is actually pretty heavily weighted due to population size. So Mono Red Madness, it was the most popular deck on day 1. It was the most popular deck on day 2. Actually had a pretty good conversion rate. But that conversion rate was beaten by Elves. It was beaten by Corgate. It was beaten by Boggles, weirdly enough. But the supreme outlier in terms of conversion rate was actually Familiars. And it's a deck that I've seen Francis play in paper. And it's always seemed like they're the kind of deck you want to be doing if you're not playing one of these really assertive, like the Mono Red Madness deck or Mono Blue Terror, or doing something like Jund Wildfire where you're just the most efficient mid-range deck. Something like Familiars where they can just go completely over the top of everything seems like a really nice place to be. And you basically, if you're not doing Elves and doing just a turbo thing, you basically need to be playing blue or red in this format because you need access to blasts.
Yeah, no, you do for sure. And Francis's trip report to us in the Discords was very much, if I could have just avoided madness, I would have done a lot better. But he didn't, unfortunately, just missing out on day 2. But overall, what can we say about Pauper? There's no high tide, which was kind of mean. I think there was a breath of fresh air around the room, that there was no play pattern worries. We're seeing, and we'll probably talk about this in next episode, the growing concern about Titan's toxicity for play patterns, with some of the things that came up over the weekend for going to time over the internet. But that removal of these decks, of that particular deck from Pauper, it was only really a good thing for a really big tournament like this.
Yeah, to be honest, as I said, I haven't played a lot of Pauper. From an external perspective looking in, looks like a nice flat format. Maybe the decks are generally a little bit too fast between Mono Red Madness, Elves, like Spy, Mono Red Rally, Grixis Affinity. They're all like really assertive decks, and I know that echoes what Francis was saying in the video that he did with you. And to be honest, most of the information I get about Pauper comes from Francis.
Francis is our Pauper boy.
Yeah, it's not surprising when you don't have very good dual lands in a format that you end up playing a lot more 1 and 2 color decks, and to do more than that, something strange needs to be going on. It looks really similar to Modern. Is there slightly too much combo? Are the decks slightly too assertive? Yeah, probably in an ideal world. But are the meta percentages really flat? Are the win rates seemingly really flat? Yes. Do they move in and out depending on the week, depending on how many Faerie Macabres Elves are playing in their sideboard that week? It all seems to move around. It all seems to be pretty organic and pretty nice to play in, and it's a nice environment to be in where you can meaningfully change your percentage points by changing up your sideboard, maybe changing up a couple of main deck cards. But that's what you want from a format, right?
Yeah, I think if you are amongst the Magic boomers around us, you really want to be going through that. You really want to be going through that bulk from yesteryear, because Faerie Macabre's stock is probably as high as it'll ever get. Some really wild numbers I've seen being spent on that card right now because of the ability to hack the graveyard, so to speak. Spy Combo did have a reasonable conversion rate, and but didn't actually make the top 8 here. But we can move on to the other Pauper event that actually happened this weekend in the UK. Fantastic, over 160 players up in Birmingham for this, which, considering some of the, should we say, like, older crowd were probably like lured away to Eternal Weekend's wider offerings. Fantastic job by Pauper Dan and the team, who have put the smash this through the park for the second year. And relatively local to us from the Bristol Pauper scene, we had not only a champ, but we had 3 out of the top 4 taking it down. So Dario ended up on Elves, a really spicy Elves list, in fact, which was sort of like really well tuned to sort of deal with some of these meta outliers that are not necessarily good for your small to the ground decks, taking down the victory. But we saw more combo rise to the top in the UK. So we're going mainly off anecdotal, what we found in Discords, because lists aren't posted yet. But we definitely saw Walls combo, Spy combo. We saw another Core Gate and a Jund Wildfire get all the way to the top tables. A little bit of a local heartbreaker with Idris killing one of the friends of the pod, ended up in 9th place. So all we can say to you there, Idris, is play faster. You'll get 8 next time. Outside of that, though, what a wonderful scene that there's huge number Magic events happening in the UK without Axion, without us, and actually being played to the top tier. Gonna probably in this part of the episode, we're definitely gonna insert some of the photos we found via on Twitter. We also saw the fact that the top table had was 20 people deep. People actually just watching and gonna being part of things. It's nothing quite like it, Scott, is it, to see Magic basically alive? It's just really sad that we're having to be we're having to build it as communities and not getting the support from the main game.
Yeah, I mean, you can wax lyrical about what you think Wizards should be doing, but as I've said a lot of times on this very podcast, when Cedric Phillips is the head of play design and Billy Jensen's the head of organized play, things are starting to come down the pipeline now that would have taken a couple of years, and as we all know, they do plan multiple years in advance. Even something like the unique trophies for the Spider-Man Spotlight series that we saw Alex and Alexi come on the podcast with. Sorry, Alexi, I hope you've received your trophy by now.
Yeah, ping us on Twitter if you have. You did promise.
Yeah, it's... I think we are in a pretty good spot, all in all. They seem to have not fixed Standard. Standard seems to be a bit more dynamic than it was. Modern is very stable, which is what we want, and we don't have Modern Horizons 4, ironically, on the horizon. So we're in a pretty stable position, and Pauper's ticking over. I know you played some Pioneer at Liverpool as well, because the vlog came up recently. Don't know why you play Greasefang. You decided to ignore all the advice I've given you over the last 3 years about Pioneer, but you do you.
I copy and pasted the top 8 list and off I went. No, I love my boy, and I think like that again. I probably should give the organized play system a little bit less stick for things like this, because I think it's all right to have these fringe formats built the way that you want to have them, because then you can dictate the way that they're going to live and breathe. What the Pauper have done, and in the UK, so as you're like sort of uneducated about like some of the little leagues you'll find, there's one massive one in Bristol. There's also the IPT in London. There's loads north of the border where you can basically go, you can play 8 to 9 weeks in a sort of organized league. Usual thing in most stores, pack per entry, prizes, prize pool, stuff like that. Gain yourself a bite of nationals. Nationals then happens, and you basically get to go 1-0 in like a 9-round event. And that's really important because it's a 9-round event, which around about the numbers that it's going to be one day. You're going to probably have to go like literally 6-1-1 to like get in. So you get that
6-1-1 in a 9-round event.
That was bad math. 8-round event, 6-1-1.
It's the unique thing to Pauper, right? And from speaking to Pauper players, from interacting with them, and with both of us being TOs locally, where we do put events on for players in Cardiff, Pauper is in a really unique spot where they don't want anyone to really mess with it, and they're happy with that. Whether that's you have to travel for Paupergeddon, whether that's you have UK Nationals and then you have a monthly tournament here and there, and then the rest of the time you're playing on Magic Online, or you just hang out with friends in a coffee shop. That seems to be the Pauper way. I feel like if Wizards made it an RCQ format and got rid of the Pauper format panel and started maintaining the ban list themselves, that a lot of Pauper players would actually be quite upset with that.
Yeah, it does. It just feels like it's the right thing to have as the alternative way to play. I think if we started messing, and I do think if maybe is that the way they're going to take Pioneer, is like maybe they going to just leave it be out there for communities to make things with. I'm not sure. I'm still sort of like jury out on this when we have Worlds this upcoming weekend. So we tend to get sort of like next year announcements after Worlds.
Do you want to bet a $5 right now that Pioneer won't be an RCQ format?
We'll do it with the comments. So everyone in the comment, if we get over 25 comments saying that they think Pioneer won't be an RCQ format, what we'll do is
we'll run a Pioneer event next year.
We'll run a Pioneer RCQ event next year. If there's an actual Pioneer, if there's no Pioneer RCQ next year, right? So this is the deal. As long as we get 25 comments that say Pioneer lives, if there's no official Pioneer RCQ, you can get one, and I'll put it out.
We'll do something.
I'll put it out there, chat. It'll be £500 out of the Get Your Deck Out credit cards, which is already a few £100 in debt. And we will put on a Pioneer RCQ. You can do it. You can do it. You can do effectively what's called a destination qualifier. So there we go. 25 comments is the thing. Pioneer lives. You need to say something else like Pioneer lives. I love Grease Fang. Scott is wrong, or something like that. And we will put one on. That's our bet to you, the Get Your Deck Out Nation. Is unfortunately, with my own bated heart, I think we're not going to see one, and we are going to be having to get our suits on and having the final Pioneer to Rest episode that we always thought we'd do. Scott's been wanting to do the episode for a while. I keep putting it off because I keep having the copium that there's something else happening. But we are in total 4 episodes until the end of the year. So, like, I think I need to give up the ghost, and it will be giving up the ghost after the Worlds episode next weekend. But that's our little test to you. But Standard's okay though, and Standard is having this little period post ban, this last weekend was the first RCQ, so we're starting to see trickles out onto X of people who've like picked up their first RCQ wins. Loving seeing our European friends like run the gauntlet in 42-person one-mans, and I'm also loving seeing our American friends in their 7-person two-seaters also doing well. You know, we could talk about that imbalance another day. I will say
not even to speak of what it's like in South America when you've got 200-person one-slotters and you've got like Carlos Romao and Paolo and just in the field.
Yeah, it went with muted applaud this week in a streamer shall remain unnamed. May have dropped oh, your RCQs only take 4 hours. Must have been another one of them 7-man 2 slotters. And I kind of got a little bit mothballed off the back of that. But maybe again, 25 comments they say name or shame, and I might actually just name. But
we might have to talk about that after the episode, Dave.
But the format's looking good. Also, as what Magic Arena has started to do, like we don't usually say like, oh, well done Magic Arena, but like they drop these metagame challenges now, which seems to like bring them a pile of people back to the table to try and run the tables. We saw some interesting deck lists and interesting innovations. I think we first have to talk about this Bant-Appa combo that is going around, and the overarching fact that we called Doc Orlok last week, and is now pretty much unbeatable if you don't know what you're doing. What have you seen, Scott? You still feel like it's just a bit mid, or do you think like we might be onto a bit of a meta tyrant?
No, I think people are still playing the deck wrong. I think we're not playing it enough like Spell Queller and Splinter Twin and that sort of thing, where we're trying to dick about playing Gene Pollinator and Llanowar Elves to do it as quickly as possible, when you could be playing something like the Seriema because it grabs Doc Orlok or Ang or Appa and is a reasonable backup plan. I don't know why you would play Nature's Rhythm in this sort of deck, where it just seems like a really expensive tutor. And I'm not sure how this deck ever beats a control deck. I'm surprised it's doing well in the face of Dimir, but that probably says more about the quality of Dimir as a deck that could sit at the top of the meta more than anything else, where it is extremely attackable. I'm still surprised to see the Simic decks doing well, even though they've now picked up Faerie Macabre and that is doing really well. There's a couple of Sabsunum being adopted in these lists, and maybe one Into the Floodmore, maybe 1 or 2 Repulsive Mutation. I don't understand how they're getting through these fields with so little interaction.
That has been the thing that surprised me quite a lot. It surprised me, but I have seen a visible downtick. Is the Cub into Orboroid is clearly a very, very good play, but the type of decks which are like rising to the fore, we saw actually a list posted by Stanley 2099. They had a couple of runs of Is It Leyline. I think Is It Leyline
deck actually looks hot, by the way.
Yeah, Is It Leyline looks great. Being able to like
yes, it is.
And also like the secret text on Full Bore, the fact that like when something's cast for the warp cost, it actually brings out a taste.
Yeah, Riddler Full Bore hit you for 10.
Yeah, well, if you give someone turn 4, they don't even have to play a creature. The fact that they've got the protection spells of Shore Up in blue, they can just have like 4 mana up, go, cool, Leyline's out, I'm just going to Riddler, Full Bore, or you're going to interact with me, Shore Up. And that in the meantime, though, you had put a slick shot on plot, and that was also attacking at the same time. So
the secret sauce in this is actually Enter the Enigma. Like, Might of the Meek is a very good card in these Leyline decks. We've actually been testing a lot of Leyline lists with a view towards the team trios, where we're on different teams. But my partner's a mono-red gamer, red-green, Unga Bunga Migo Face player. And every single time we played with Leyline, the best card in her deck was Might of the Meek, because it was a draw 2 when you had the Leyline down, and it gave you the churn that you needed to keep going. The trample on that is Hidden Source as well. Can't Be Blocked is even better than that, especially if you put it on an Emberheart Challenger and then you full bore it. You've got 2 Prash triggers as well, so you're like doubling up on everything, and it kills people really, really quickly. One of the ways you stop Slickshot is you play a flyer, whether that be Ang, Appa, Quantum Riddler, take your pick. Being able to untap and go, cool, I'm making this unblockable and drawing 2. You're really putting a lot of strain on the opposing deck to deal with the things you're doing. as opposed to just blocking you off, which you could sometimes do against the mono-red Leyline decks.
Yeah, that was well, like I say, I called it out in the vlog, and I think was sort of the overall call out was once the original Leyline build was quote unquote thought out, you were gonna need to sort of have a way to somehow protect your combo or some way to actually get through a board. And I think it's very possible to say that Stanley might have found the overall source here. We won't go into some of the inner details of the deck, or we'll say it because we'll say like he has a very active Metafy. Go check that out, support that if you want to check out more of that content, because the topic he actively streams too much. We'll be running it on some streams on the channel though, taking a look. That was a really interesting aggro tinge. Rather fun was also to see that Firelord Azula got some play on the weekend.
I was really hoping that you were going to let me talk wax lyrical about Ali Eldrazis' absolute masterpiece.
You go, King. You go.
3 Jeskai Revelation, 2 Firelord Azula, Aetherize, Songcrafter Mage, Ancient Cornucopia. Yes, that's still in standard. Shout out Niv Mizzet players in Pioneer. 4 No More Lies, 4 Lightning Helix, 4 Consult the Star Charts, 2 Stock Up. I don't like the sorcery, but we'll allow it. 3 Steps Ahead, Fire Magic. It is just excellent. However, the mana base sucks. 2 Mistrise Village and a Kori Mountain Monastery, 1 Multiversal Passage, and 1 Basic Plains.
Yeah, I was going to say this because I burned a lot of coins on this one. And I will give credit to Ali and the people who were brewing over the weekend. By the time I could sort of like, but instead of just playing over the weekend, like on my phone and stuff, I went back to see that there was definitely some further innovations on this list. You are right about stock up. Most people either dropped that to 1 or dropped it completely. Ancient Cornucopia, maybe that dropped down to 3 instead.
I'm surprised we're playing green full stop. I'm surprised we're not just doing a 4-color control thing where for some reason we're playing Songcrafter Mage. I love the card. I own
it's the
multiple
flashback,
of it.
isn't it? It's flashback.
It's just not good. It's so expensive.
Would you feel the best thing to do here then is to just literally just drop it, play all the Firelord Azulas and all the Jeskai Revs, and just
I think you could do like that. Why are we not playing Inevitable Defeat anymore? That was I played 4-color control for quite a while, and Inevitable Defeat was the best card in the deck, game in, game out, over and over again. And now all of a sudden Vivi's gone and people think we can piss about playing full 5-color instead, and we can't.
Fair enough.
I understand that Ancient Cornucopia gives you a lot of life with this deck, and being able to outpace the mono-red decks on life gain is really important. Do you know what also gains you 3 life? Inevitable Defeat.
That is true. That is true.
The mana base for that was always a little sketchy, shall we say. Big arguments over whether to play Starting Town or not, so on and so forth. I don't know why we're playing Aetherize when you could just drop green, fix the mana base, play more white sources, and play Day of Judgment, Ultima, that sort of thing. Where you want Simic Urabore to have a chance against you, and you're playing Lightning Helix, No More Lies, Inevitable Defeat, and Day of Judgment.
I think you're right, because ultimately those decks don't have comeback mechanics once you just wipe the board, right?
You 3-for-1 them once, and they just die.
So there's definitely what we are living here though, the top tier source.
It's innovation. It's innovation.
Fantastic. I think where we see this deck finishing is just the 4-color deck that's being played. Just bringing in, I don't. Like, you could still just play Meringue River Regent in this deck, right?
Yeah, you could. Well, you could also still just play Jeskai with Shiko and Ang's Iceberg. Maybe you play a Miser's Appa to do the thing. You don't need to go infinite with it. That's the thing. Is people are talking about, we need to pre-ban Doc Orlok. That is a massive overreaction, and unfortunately that is something that is starting to plague the game more and more. I don't know if it's off the back of this TikTok culture where people don't have the attention span to stick with things for more than 2 weeks. Shout out TikTok if this is becoming a short. Hi, I'm probably coming across my own For You page.
Bloody podcasters pulling out all this spicy sauce and creating ban waves.
But it's just bollocks. Until a thing is problematic, then you can ban it when it's problematic. Yeah, they waited too long with Vivi. Yeah, because they're trying their absolute best to give us a playable format and an even vaguely stable format when you're spending 300 quid on a single deck. They're trying their best because do you think it's Play Design's decision that there's 7 standard sets coming out a year? No, of course it's not. It's the CEOs at Hasbro who need to pay their shareholders and they want to continue making money because
board games are failing.
Yeah, well, not only do we need to make profit, we need to make increased profit year on year on year. And it's not sustainable. It's happening to every single industry across the world, and cracks are starting to show. I know the price of Avatar collector boosters is actually elastic banding back down a bit. And I think it's because consumers are getting to the point where they just can't manage it. You can't spend £400 on a collector booster box. It's just not sustainable.
It's incredible. And this is a separate aside. Little silly mistakes like the £40 uncommon that we're seeing. Came across my feed the other day. I have to look this up.
The jumpstart thing.
Yeah, and so, but they forgot to add it to, quote unquote, forgot to add it to Jumpstart, so it's now only available
in collector boosters and like only in foil or something, right?
So therefore, it's a $40, and it's actually relatively playable in a commander deck. So therefore, it's selling, not just listed, selling at $40 on TCG Player.
I mean,
crazy stuff.
To a certain extent, that's part of what you sign up for with Commander, is weird cards are going to be weirdly expensive. I know the MH3 Ashling was I think it's Ashling Flame Dancer. And if I'm right, that means I've brewed too much. I am right as well. That is unbelievable. It's being reported that on TCG Player, it's like $20 and it's spiking everywhere, and it's because it goes well with one of the commanders from Avatar. I apologize if any Commander players are watching this. Yeah, so an English copy in the UK is €15. The price trend is $4.88. So that's spiking like hell, and that's part of what you sign up for with Commander.
Do you know what, though? I'll say this to Commander players everywhere, especially Commander players at TikTok. Do you know what else is $40 this year? A printer. Right? Okay. Please make sound financial decisions. If you are not got that, if you haven't not got that money, like just actually get the card proxied and play in your fun kitchen table formats.
That's the good bit of Commander, right? Is I understand that some people don't like proxying. That's fine. I absolutely understand that. You want to own the cards, you want to play with the actual game pieces. It would be like playing Uno with slips of paper that you'd written on yourself if, for some reason, Uno went to 200 quid for a deck overnight. But you do what you got to do. As I said, everything in the world is showing cracks, and people are struggling more and more and more. The cynic in me is saying it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse, and they're going to test us as much as they can until they find breaking points. If you haven't read 1984 by George Orwell, I highly recommend it. It might teach you some things. But you just avoid it. Just don't buy into the hype. If you held a gun to my head and said, build a commander deck, I'd find something completely off the wall because A, that's what I find fun. And B, to me, that's what Commander's about. It's about self-expression, and especially self-expression in your deck building, but also in your gameplay. And it's not something that I'm personally there for. I'm personally there because I want to compete. I really enjoy Magic as a competitive game, and I want to squeeze every percentage point out that I can of every game that I play, and finding the weird lines where I can redirect lightning my opponent's ephemerate onto their token off of their solitude, and then it's like I'm 3-for-1ing them, stuff like that. That's the really big things to me. If you're there to have fun, have some beers, play with your friends, don't buy into the hype. Don't spend $40 on a single card for a 100 card deck when, as you said, a printer costs maybe that amount total. And if you want to own a deck, I'm saying this as someone who, down to my right, I have a Derevi deck that is worth middle 4 figures, and that is a commander deck. It's a passion project for me and my partner, but we are in the really fortunate position that we can do that. That is not common, and it's because we enjoy owning expeditions and dual lands and things like that.
That's what I remember about it, isn't it? Like, the game can be enjoyed on all levels. This is like
take advantage of it being casual.
Yeah, and this is a podcast to sort of highlight the bottom of this, is that, yeah, Pauper, where all the decks are sub $100, was played in a very high level competitive format. I think the winner of Pauper again got something like $6,000. It was relative.
It was every deck in the format in foil.
Right, so you can do that if you wanna get in and you want to get in low. You can also be prepared for the top end. Go play your modern formats. Get yourself qualified for Worlds, like what we've got coming up this weekend. The only thing I could probably say about this weekend's Worlds is I'm very, very excited for a team to break the format. I think this is we're like we've always talked about, like bad timing or bad metas.
Perfect timing.
We've got a perfect timing, a perfect set, a set that's definitely given room for innovation. We've got no quote unquote problematic cards of note in the format. If at the end of this weekend it's been completely broken, I love to see it. I can't wait to be entertained by it. And for those who've been talking about, like Magic's not really good to watch anymore, or Magic's not telling any storylines anymore, here we are staring down Worlds in the healthiest position Worlds could be played in for a rather long time.
They need to advertise this shit better. I forgot Worlds was this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm invested, so that is a failing of theirs, and hopefully that is something that improves. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm probably a little bit more excited for the F1 season finale, not gonna lie, because we've got a good one going into Abu Dhabi there as well.
Shout Orlando.
Shout down Lando. I hope he doesn't win. He is a petulant man-child, and he's Zach Brown's special little boy, and I hope Oscar embarrasses him, or if Max wins, then he's top 3 racer all time, and I don't think you can argue.
You can hear all about that in our other spin-off podcast called Get Your Wheels Out. That will be under the Patreon. That will be.
I mean, if people want us to talk about non-Magic stuff, then shout us. Let us know. If you enjoy when me and Dave go a little off topic.
Off topic as hell.
Yeah, well, because we are, as a podcast, we're pretty structured, right? We normally come into these things with a script. We normally go, yeah, we're going to talk about this, and then we'll talk about this, and then we'll talk about this. And occasionally we go completely off the rails. I'm going on an anti-capitalist rant, or you end up talking about something you did with your kids. We end up cutting a lot of it out. But if you're interested in it, I'm sure we can do 5-10 minutes an episode.
Something worth discussion. Definitely the comments. Let us know where you think we should be sitting on that one. We'll be enjoying Worlds, but I'll probably be enjoying Worlds based on vicariously if we want to see on Fire Shoes' threads. Timelines of the weekend. It's going to be relatively a late one for us here in the UK, because obviously it's over on the West Coast. We've got people like Sean Goddard out there playing.
Shout out Beekeeper.
I really hope to see some great storylines. You are right about the advertising thing. I only really tuned into it because of the Television Academy. Fantastic commentary, sort of vlog, follow along that they did with Jesse Robkins. I like had tears in my eyes watching that. Like, and this is just like the content level of of competitive Magic YouTube is going up so high, and I'm so happy to say that like we're starting to see like a real shift and a real paradigm. And don't get me wrong, Commander at Home, Mr. Kibler, and all your your show's great. It's fun, right? It's really well done. Game nights, good job. When you've got some money, you've put it together really well. But you know what's missing is missing the passion of people who are like focusing, grinding, and trying to get to the top. Like, literally watching. Jesse was done, but like literally didn't want to be done, but then got a chance to not be done, then thought they were done, but then it like the emotion of all of that roller coaster, just that last little bit where like there was like the text message, I think I'm gonna LCQ tomorrow, and then just suddenly like we're talking about worlds. Man, you couldn't have written an actual better script. It's so ironic that Jesse's the head script writer for Tellurian Academy and played out in real life the actual script of the best Magic event of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, shout out Prof. I've had the pleasure of meeting him in person. He's a wonderful person, and in terms of like trans representation in particular, Tiddy Pills, Jesse Robkin is excellent, and they do so much good work. And I know that they've written like plays and films and stuff like that. They're so talented, and it is unbelievable. But yeah, it's great. And the community in general, I know that you and I, Dave, is something that we champion a lot, being two middle-aged white men who have a podcast because everyone needs to hear our opinions. It's something that we really champion in the local community as well, and we're really proud of the diversity that we've got, and we're always looking for ways to improve that, because certain people have certain feelings about certain things. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything that's too out there, because there'd be a witch hunt, which I know there's been multiple of. But yeah, Jesse is great. I hope I get to meet them someday. I have a stack of revised basics that I'm getting people in the community to sign. So our good friend Will Hall, Autumn Bachette, I carry them with me. I'm ready, and at some point I'll have a full set. And yeah, they're one that I'd be proud to have their name signed on one of these lands that I'm going to keep using.
Yeah, no, absolute spot on one. Yeah, of the people I'll be rooting for, basically, if you got a UK flag by your name, or if you are Jesse Tiddy Pills Robkin, I hope you take down Worlds this weekend. I hope everyone has a great time. I hope we see some fantastic top tier Magic, and we can be going into the 2026 season, should we call it? Because I think we may as well get used to that. That's going to be the way we work now. Is that we're going to get to December, and we're going to start a whole new standard year, which
it's nice. I like it. You've got rotation. You've got a new year of sets.
You get a Christmas break, like as well. Like this is the end of 2025, and at the start of 2025. I literally took a deep breath, and I got the calendar out, and for our local store, I had to mark 6 pre-release events, and literally thought, oh my God, it can't get worse than this, until last week I was there marking down 7. So,
do you remember the episode we did with JMF?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd recommend for the people listening as well, go back and have a little listen, because I think you said 4. I said 6 again, and JMF said, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more than 6. And what do you know, JMF, very, very smart person. That's why they're on my Team Trios team with myself and my partner. And yeah, they were right. Absolutely right.
Just for the record, it's Scott who ditched me, not me who ditched Scott. But, we'll argue about that another day.
Excuse me. Thank you. There was a Discord chat going on, and you got swept up mighty quick before I even decided I was going. because as listeners of the podcast know, I'm busy doing adult shit and it's quite difficult for me to get out.
There was just an opinion. Dave owns Badger Mall Cubs. He better take a seat. And I don't know whether I should be like, what's the word, like proud of like my like pack one, pick one in, or I should be like, that was dumb as shit. But
nah, I think it's they just don't want to let you play Leyline anymore.
That's true. That's very true. Despite like, there's been some spicy lists, and I'm staying invested. I got one hand on the rail, and I don't want to let it go. And I'm loving seeing our boy McIsaac. He's brewing away, doing some top 8 stuff. So maybe Leyline never dies, but we'll see that on another episode. If you're not watching Magic this weekend, you will be missing out. We'll be back next week with a wrap-up of Worlds. There'll be some chats in the week with your UK national Pauper champion, Dario. And we're going to maybe touch on some Riftbound on some extra episodes on the channel, but the Magic podcast, this will stay. You'll find us here every Tuesday on your Spotify, on your iTunes, or here on YouTube. Don't forget, 25 Pioneer related comments in the comments before Saturday, and we will drop that destination qualifier.
Give me an excuse to be wrong, because that will make Dave happier than anything.
And you know what? The truth is, if we're wrong, we'll run multiple, because that's because that's not our budget. Then we haven't got to actually fork it out. Thanks everybody for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.